Hey guys, happy Monday. At least it's Monday here. I'm going to try to have this up tomorrow. If you saw my post on Facebook and Instagram, you saw what we were going to be canning today. Well, you at least had to have a guess at it. If you guessed beef stew, you're correct. My husband went downstairs late Friday night and came upstairs to inform me that we had no beef stew on the canning shelf, which apparently was a big problem. So Saturday, we ended up going and getting a couple things that I needed to make beef stew to can. So if you saw that giant roast in the picture, that's what this is. Today, I went ahead and put what I figured I would need to do a full canner load of quarts, which is 7, in my brazier in the oven, and I just par cooked it because I'm not a fan of raw packing. I know I've said that before. So I just did a par cook in the oven. The potatoes soaked overnight in water. It's usually what I always try to do. And then while they're soaking, and I think I threw it out because I need to get another jar, is when I soak these in water, I add fruit fresh to it. It just keeps the color nice. And then carrots. I guessed what I was going to need. So hopefully I have enough for 7. And then while Matthew was cutting the roast up for me, he always trims the fat off, but I always tell him to leave a little bit of meat on the fat because it's not a problem. Because what I do is tomorrow I will run this through the pressure cooker, the Instant Pot, and it's going to cook all that meat and get all the meat off of the fat, and I will get probably 2 meals of cooked shredded beef out of this that'll go in the freezer. So nothing gets wasted, or at least that's the goal. So I will pause you, get you set up a little better. I'll show you how to do 1 or 2 jars, and then I'll bring you back when the rest of them are ready to go in the canner. Okay, we're going to cold pack this today, and I'm going to do quarts. Quarts are going to go for 90 minutes, but if you want to do pints, you absolutely can. You're just going to do them for 75 minutes. Next week, I'll probably actually do some pints because pints are what my husband likes to take to work. And with winter coming up, that's like one of his favorite things to take because while he's waiting on the trailers to get loaded up, he can just go into the warehouse and warm it up, and he's good to go for something nice and warm in the winter. My jars are already cleaned. When you clean them, make sure that there is no cracks or dings or anything in the top. In the bottom, we're going to put our beef stew meat. And you don't have to par cook this if you don't want to. You can do raw pack. It's just a preference. That's all it is. Maybe one more. Like I said, I guesstimated when I was cutting this up. Maybe one more to try to get enough for 7. Okay. Then I'm going to put my potatoes in. And this is one of those do as I say, not as I do. Technically speaking, you are supposed to peel your potatoes. As you can see, I don't. If I was doing russets, I would definitely peel them, but I don't can russets. I only can golden potatoes and red potatoes. But like I said, it's kind of a you do you, your kitchen, your rules kind of scenario. And then this is what we have. So I'm going to add the liquid. Liquid is, for meats and liquids, is 1 inch headspace, which is right here. And this is the broth I'm going to be using. I just did 4 cups of water and just 1 beef stew seasoning. You can use your own seasoning. It doesn't matter, whichever you really like, go for it. It's just what I had on hand. And there's, you know, when you're eyeballing it, putting it in the jars, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just whatever looks right to you. If it has a little more carrot, 1 jar over the other, another jar has a little bit more potato, it's not the end of the world. It'll all work out. Now we're going to debubble. Just like that. Make sure all of that bubbles you can get. Make sure our headspace is right, and we are right at that line. Take our vinegar and our paper towel. We're going to go around the rim a few times. Make sure there's no grease, no food remnants. You don't want anything that's going to disturb your seal. That should be good. Grab your lid. That is another thing that I do differently than what the box will tell you to do. The new lids you no longer technically have to warm. However, when I stopped doing it, I ended up with a ton of false seals. So I went back to doing it how I've always done it, how I was taught, which is warm your lids, and now I'm good to go like I always was. So I'm going to pop this in the canner, and I'll do one more with you. And like I said, we're doing cold pack, so the water in the canner is room temp. Everything is pretty close to room temp. And this is one of those things that it's just nice to have on the shelf, because there's days where, like, you know, you don't feel well, or if you're like me and you're having a bad pain day, you just pop open the lid on the jar, warm it up a little bit in the pan on the stove. You could even microwave it, and you got a nice hot dinner. I'm going to put a little more meat in that one than I meant, but it's all good. Don't, when you're shaking it like I am, just make sure you don't hit your counter on the bottom. I did that once, and I cracked the jar on the old countertops that we had. I learned not to do that anymore. It was such a mess. Of course, it had to be done when I had liquid in the jar. One inch. There we go. And I didn't know how much broth I was going to make, so I just did one package at a time. So I'm clearly going to have to make some more, but it only takes like 2 seconds. So again, not a big deal. I'm going to go around and around. Make sure it's up there. We put just a hair more. Here we go. Take our vinegar. I'm going to try the end of this week, because I have a busy week this week, and we are almost out of my home canned barbecue sauce. So I'm going to try to make some this week, and if I have the time, I will definitely bring you back so you can see how that goes. If you like Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, you'll like that one. It's like basically a copycat. Okay, I showed you how to do 2. Now I'm going to pause you. I'm going to finish up the jars, see if I can come out with 7, and I'll bring you back to see what we got. Okay, we are back. I got exactly what I wanted, 7 quarts worth of meat. I ended up with way more potatoes than I needed, but that's okay. They'll hold up. I'm going to put the rest of my vinegar in. That just helps keep your jars clean. You're going to clean them anyway once they're done. Like tomorrow, I'll give them a really good clean with a soapy rag, but that just helps keep any film and anything off. It can turn your rings, but your rings don't have to be perfect. I even have some that are rusted. It doesn't hurt anything. I'm going to cut the heat on. And we're going to start warming things up. And when I say we're going to start warming things up to get it ready, that doesn't mean put it on high. You want to do it slow. So I'm going to start it out slow. And I'm going to start slowly heating things up. And as it starts heating up, then I'll start gradually turning my heat up a little bit more. When this gets hot enough where you feel that heat from it and you see some steam coming up from it, you can even temp the water if you want. Usually when it's around like 170-ish is when I'll go ahead and put the lid on top. But for now, we're just going to let this heat up. When I'm ready to put the lid on, I will bring you back and I'll give you an idea of like what it looks like, and so you'll know when you're ready if you've never canned before. If you've canned before, then you already know all that and you can skip ahead. But for now, that's it, and I will bring you back when we're ready for the next part. Okay, it's time to put the lid on. I got this up to, if you really want to know, about 188, so that's perfect for me. You don't have to be quite that particular about it, but I guess I'm kind of picky. I'm going to lock the lid down. And now we're not going to do anything until we get a steady steam of stream. Try saying that 3 times real fast for 10 minutes through here. And then once we have the steam going for a full 10 minutes, then I'll put the weight on. And when I'm ready to put the weight on, I'll bring you back so you can see what it looks like. Okay, 10 minutes is up. I'm ready to put my jiggler on. Yep, that's on. Now for my elevation, it's going to be 15 pounds of pressure. You're going to want a can for whatever it is for your elevation. And then when this starts doing like what I call a hula, like a soft little hula, you're going to start your timer. And for me, for quarts, we're going to do it for 90. My lock just popped up. If you're doing pints, you're going to do 75 minutes, but I'm going to do 90 for quarts. So when this starts rocking is when I will start my timer. And then I will bring you back when we're actually ready to take all the jars out of the canner. And once the 90 minutes is done, you're going to cut the heat completely off. And then you're going to walk away. You're not going to touch the canner. You're definitely not going to touch that. Just let it naturally come down off the heat and let all of that come down naturally. And then once this lock drops down, that's how I'll know that it's safe to remove the weight. Now, if you watch my last video, you know that I have a little process I do. So when that drops, I will remove that and we're going to wait 20 minutes. After 20 minutes is up, I'll unlock the top and I'm going to sit at kitty corner on top for another 20 minutes. So after those 40 minutes is up, then I'm going to bring you back and we're going to take the jars out together so we can see what we have. And hopefully everything seals and we don't have any problems. But I will bring you back after that's all done so you can see it with me. Okay, we're all done. Let's see what we've got. I already heard a few of them ping. Water doesn't look too bad. I had a little bit of siphoning. Normally I like to do quarts when Matthew's home just because they're a little harder for me with my shoulder to get out, but we'll make it work. Like I said, I already heard a few of them already seal. It looks like 1, 2, 3, looks like 5 out of the 7 have already sealed, which is good. Tomorrow I'll check everything, make sure everything's sealed really good. Then I'll take the rings off and then we'll wash them up with some soapy water and they'll go on the pantry shelf. And looks like our headspace stayed where we wanted them, which was good. Like I said, I had a little bit of siphoning, but it's almost impossible to not have some level of siphoning when you're canning. So if you have a little bit of siphoning, don't let it discourage you. It's completely normal. In fact, the rule of thumb is if you have siphoning, as long as your jar continues to be half filled with the liquid that you started with. So if you started here, and you take it out and it's halfway filled, technically speaking, according to the rule book, they are safe to still put on your shelf. They might get a little bit of discoloration on the top, whatever's not under the liquid, but you're still technically okay. But these look like they turned out great. So these will be nice to add to the pantry shelf for fall and for winter. And next week I'll make my husband some pints for work. But that's it for this one. Later this week, I'm going to try to bring you that barbecue sauce, but I'm also going to try, I think, first to show you how to do brown sugar. Because if you're going to follow along with some of the cannings that I have coming up, there's going to be a lot of brown sugar involved. So I think I'm going to do that first this week. But for tonight, this is it. Let me know if you try it, how it came out, how you liked it. And if you have any other ideas of anything you'd like to see canned, feel free to just ask. That's it for tonight. Night, guys.